Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Refined Savage podcast. Let's do a little business, and then we will get on with the show. So first up today, the breath belt. The breath belt is my new favorite piece of lifting equipment. It is great no matter what endeavor you are pursuing, whether you're lifting, running, doing calisthenics, or gymnastics. If you have hip or back pain, this is the toy for you. I tell you, I am a true believer. I think it is the best piece of gear I've seen probably in the last decade, and I couldn't be happier with the results. And check it out. I promise you, you're going to like it. Thebreathbelt.com. Use the code SAVAGE, all caps, SAVAGE20 at checkout. If you have a pair of hips, this is the piece of equipment for you. Muscle Egg. Muscle Egg is our newest sponsor, and they've gotten us a referral code. It is muscleegg.com/refinedsavage. I'll read that again at the end, in case you guys don't have a pen, or if you have questions, you can always shoot me a message, and I'll get that for you. Muscle Egg is pasteurized, not raw. It's safe to drink even if you're pregnant, and great for cooking or using any recipe as well. It's all natural, and they use sucralose, which is a artificial sweetener, but there's no bullshit in it. Okay, it's not watered down. It's just straight egg whites and the sweetener. It is fantastic. Each serving is equivalent to 10 egg whites. The taste is phenomenal. I love it. It surprised me when I drank it for the first time. It surprised everyone I've given it to. So I highly recommend it. It is a no bullshit protein drink that is you take right out of your refrigerator and pour and ready to go. Again, muscleegg.com, and use the referral link muscleegg.com/refined muscleegg.com/refinedsavage/. Check that out. I promise you will enjoy it. Cerberus. Anyone out there competing at a strongman competition has seen Cerberus gear out there, and there's a reason for that. It is the best stuff around. Cerberus has everything you need. What the fuck is wrong with me tonight? Cerberus has everything you need for your strength journey, whether it's belts or wraps or straps, anything you need. Sandbags, smelling salts, tacky. Cerberus has it all. Check them out. Refined Savage 10 at checkout for 10% off. Serious Steel. If you are outfitting any kind of gym, whether it's your garage gym all the way up to a big commercial gym, Serious Steel is the way to go. Check them out first. And they are great people. They are athletes working for athletes. I just bought grippers from them, like the hand grippers. They are fantastic. I highly recommend them. Check out SeriousSteel.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout. Stay Classy Meats. Stay Classy Meats out of Bozeman, Montana. We're looking at small batch farms raising humane animals. They are treating these animals well. They are processing them humanely. The taste is unbelievable. I've never had beef or bison that tastes as good as Stay Classy Meats. It is my favorite by far. It's like Christmas morning every time I see one of these boxes show up on my doorstep. Speaking of the boxes, they are freezer boxes that show up at your door. Everything is always frozen. I've never had a problem. Give them a holler. And if you guys have questions, if you want to build your own box or whatever, give me a holler. I will help you out and tell you what my favorite things are. From buffalo to beef to bacon, it's the best stuff out there. I highly recommend. Get meat delivered directly to your home. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout at stayclassymeats.com. What's up next? Warrior CBD. Everybody has their own CBD brand these days, but most of it is garbage. Warrior CBD is the best stuff I've ever used, and I've used a lot of different products. It's great for, I use the drops for sleeping at night, just a few drops, and it helps put you to sleep. It helps with anxiety. It helps with muscle aches or pains. The roll-ons for muscle pain are fantastic. My parents use it for their whacked out dogs because it calms them down during thunderstorms. You can't beat it. Check out warriorcbdofficial.com. Use the code warrior20 off at checkout. What do we got next? Viking Coffee. Viking Coffee. My boy Evan Armstrong brewing up the best coffee on earth. Fantastic coffee. He's up in Michigan now. Old Man Strength is the brew from the show that we spent a lot of time figuring out and working out. It is definitely my favorite, but all his other brands are fantastic as well. Check him out at vikingcoffeeco.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, guys, today on the show we have former brown belt world champion Dante Leon. Dante is he's from Canada, living now in Toledo, Ohio. He is, man, it's just great talking to the dude. He is a fantastic human being and a true warrior. And if you are into grappling or jiu-jitsu or judo or any of this stuff, I think you're really going to enjoy this. If you're just someone who enjoys training in general, Dante knows his stuff. He is a follower of the West Side Method and really great dude, really knowledgeable, and I think you're going to enjoy this podcast. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and we'll see you at the end. Dante Leon, what's happening, brother? Haven't seen you in a little over a year, right?
Right. So, right. We got together a good while before the craziness, and then been kind of apart ever since.
Yeah. So what, how'd you guys do? You know, I mean, you guys were just kind of starting the gym up when everything happened. So how did that go?
Man, it was a little bit tough at first, a little bit touch and go. I mean, especially with all the shutdowns going on and not knowing when things were coming back. So things were a little bit touch and go for a while, right in the middle of moving to a different gym. So that kind of just kept getting delayed. But, you know, lucky for us, we have like a core of really good students. Ohio, we bounced back pretty well with everything. So we were able to get open pretty quickly. And, you know, it was, you know, I would say the first like 5 or 6 months were pretty tough. We had to stay pretty strict about trying not to touch each other too much or just stay with one partner, you know? So, I mean, it was hard, but you do what you got to do. And I say now that we're approaching normal, you know, we're approaching where everybody's really comfortable and the gym's kind of a safe place again. So,
yeah. It was crazy that, you know, they took the one thing, not just for physical fitness, but I mean, you know as well as I do, a lot of these people doing jiu-jitsu, it's part of their mental fitness. You know, they're just not normal without it.
For sure. I remember teaching a class, and I remember it was we actually opted to shut down for 2 weeks before there was any kind of shutdown. So I think it was March 13th, 2020. I announced to everybody this is going to be the last class for 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to reassess everything after that. You know, we see some things happening. We're going to take like the initiative to kind of do it. And then Monday we got shut down anyway. So it really didn't matter. And they kept pushing that one off longer and longer and longer. But I just remember telling the class and just seeing like 3 or 4 guys in the class, like, oh, like it's like the life got took out of them, you know? And, you know, a couple guys talked to me on the side about how they needed to still train or how they needed to do this or needed to do that. I'm like, hey man, shit, after Monday, there's nothing really I can do for you. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm if like as hard as it was for everybody else, it was so hard for me because I'm somebody who needs jiu-jitsu to be sane, and my hands are tied as a instructor and as a boss basically. So, you know, it was a tough time, definitely.
Yeah, we did the same thing with our gym. We closed down, you know. I had the conversation with my wife and said, you know, I guess we are in the health and fitness industry. So, you know, we're trying to do the right thing by people's health. So yeah, we'll just shut down till April 1st. And then it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, we're going to extend that for until what was it, May something, June?
Yeah, I think it was, I remember my first day back was May 25th, I believe. So 8 weeks, you know, a little more than 8 weeks shut down. And all the time, like every single time it came up, like the time that you thought you were coming back, you'd get your hopes up a little bit. You'd start to, you know, there was one thing where we were shut down, I was like, oh, this will be fine. They'll keep working on the gym and the gym will be built. And we went to the new gym location. No one was working. They got shut down too. So we're like, shit. And like now everything's pushed back. You know what I mean? It was weird to see. It was like the whole everything, the gym production, the real estate, everything was just kind of at a standstill. So it was hard to get it going.
Yeah, unless you're Amazon or something, you were kind of at the mercy of the government. It's what kind of pissed me off about it. The airlines were still flying, Amazon was still doing stuff, but these little businesses got mauled. I kept training jiu-jitsu all the way through, never, just finding ways to get it done, and not. And we've discussed this before. I'm shitty at jiu-jitsu, but it's something I do, and it's just to take that away from you is it was tough, man. And a lot of people who didn't have the opportunity to keep training, it was really tough on some people, and they exploded when we came back. When the gym finally opened up again, man, both the jiu-jitsu school and our gym just exploded with people.
Same. I mean, we were coming back, we were way down, obviously. I mean, I know a lot of people, some people don't want to return. Some people are worried. Some people are waiting until, somebody in the family gets vaccinated or whatever. And it was kind of understood from where we were that we were going to lose a lot of people. I was surprised we kept as many as we did, like coming back and returning. But numbers were way down, and numbers were way down for me. And I heard about other gyms around where numbers were just like ridiculous, where numbers were just literally like more than cut in half within a month. And
wow,
that's just insane to think about, where you have a gym of, let's say a gym starting out that has 70 members of jiu-jitsu and goes down to 35. I don't know how you're going to survive like that, for how long you're going to survive like that. It's seen so many jiu-jitsu gyms kind of, fall by the wayside. I've seen a lot of gyms fall by the wayside, even big block gyms. I mean, I read something about 24-hour fitness putting in, filing for bankruptcy at one point, during the first lockdown. So it was crazy, man.
Yeah, definitely weird times, but it didn't seem like it affected you too much on the training, though. I mean, you seem like you've been really kicking ass this year.
I mean, I was quarantined with a few of my training partners anyway, so we don't need to break any rules. We can train. We can. They said you're not supposed to drive or you're not supposed to go anywhere, but we would sneak out. We'd go to a little location where it was just 3 of us, 4 of us, tops 5 guys.
Yeah.
And we would live together. We would stay together in the same house and just be like, it gave me, out of a lot of things about it, it gave me a different vision, a different view. I mean, I decked out my garage gym to the max. Kelly and I just been killing it in the garage gym. We've been investing in different pieces of equipment. I'm at the point now where I'm like a dude who's got a boat who always wants more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always want to get like a boat that's 2 feet longer all the time. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, no more machines. I got everything I need, but I like it now. I mean, it gave me really put things into perspective for me, man. I don't want to. You think that you can just have, whatever you need at home? Oh, just a couple things in case I get stuck at home. What if you do get stuck at home? You know what I mean? So slowly but surely adding to the gym, and finally got what I need now.
Yeah, the gym, the setup looks awesome. The super heavy duty shit, and I saw that video you posted just today of you doing that Zerker with the Zerker harness on
yesterday. Yeah,
Jesus. Yeah, that was sick, man. How much was it? Six something?
635. Yeah.
Yeah. That's as much as I did when I weighed 300 pounds. So what are you weighing in at?
Like I'm like between 175, 180 right now.
Yeah.
That's where my weight kind of floats around at. Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah, that's a great video. People can check that out. Won your last match. Was that WNO?
Who's number one? I won against Cody Steele, and then I
Yeah.
lost in December against Roberto.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
You
much
know,
it.
it one of the things, and I just heard Gordon Ryan on Rogan's podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I really respect about you um, is the fact that you seem to take whatever match comes down the pipe. You're ready to roll. Um, there's not a lot of bullshit. There's not a lot of talking about it. You just seem to. I know Gordon's having a lot of problems getting matches, and I mean, that's what I really respect about you is like, hey, let's go. I'm a jiu-jitsu fighter. Let's do this, and I think you should be commended for that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the whole thing with Gordon, I try and figure out sometimes what the thing is about people, because you got to remember that the weight class at 77 and 88 is very dense. It's very deep, and that's not to say that over under 99 kilos is not as deep. There's years that it's just as deep or deeper, but for the most part, you see like lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, kind of where the most guys are.
Yeah,
So you have an opportunity to kind of pick and choose who you have matches with, and when you get up to a higher ranking, it does make sense to say, I'm not going to fight this guy. I want this guy, or I want that guy, not this guy. And anytime I haven't taken matches, it's when I'm taking time off. Like I've
right.
had time off for a little bit now, like the majority of this year, and first half of the year probably no action, and then getting back into it in like the summer probably with matches. So with Gordon, I don't see why people are avoiding him, because if you want to go and win ADCC, if that's what you say your goal is, how are you going to avoid him?
Yeah, right.
There's not a lot of, like I'm saying, it's not like it's the deepest division in the world, especially if you go over 99. Like, how do you think you're not going to fight him? How do you think you're going to go your career grappling when a lot of these guys are his age, or close to it? Like, how do you think you're going to have 10 years in the sport and not fight him? Like,
Yeah,
why would you? I just don't understand why you would avoid it. And I know there's a whole thing about Gordon's shit talk. I think maybe people get a little bit scared that he's going to like embarrass him or whatever, but it's jujitsu, man.
yeah.
It's not life or death. It's not a street fight. If it's a sport that you train in, you're supposed to do, then I think they should take it, man.
Yeah,
I
and you
think
can almost, I mean, it's not rocket science to see what he's doing. He's trying to goad people into fighting him. I mean, if nothing else works, I mean, what are you going to do? You got to get some, and we all know from watching UFC to pro wrestling, the more heat you can get on a match, the more money you're going to make. And I
100%.
really think it has a lot to do with the fact that in these guys, they run in their own little circles, their own gyms, their own communities, their own areas where they're the best. And sometimes I think they get a little spooked by maybe putting that on the line, and then they can't say I'm the best anymore. But I mean, this is a very unique combat sport where, like you said, there's no embarrassment. There's no I mean, it's rare that you get a major injury, but there's certainly no embarrassment, especially if you go in and you treat it as an honorable endeavor. You're
Yeah.
doing your best, and hey, some days you're going to get popped. I mean, a white belt's going to grab you once in a while. You're not going to be ready for it. You just got to have that mindset where, hey, every match is new, and I don't think anyone's going to stop going to your school because you lost a match at ADCs.
And the thing that people kind of don't look at, I think, is I think a lot of these guys think that they're like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, let's say, for example, somebody fights Gordon, they get smashed or they get blown out of the water. Does that mean that that's how that fight has to be 2 years, 2 years from then?
Yeah.
2 years
Yep.
removed from that date, is the fight going to be the same? That's up to you.
Yeah.
If you got throttled by a dude and the next time you fight him, you get throttled worse, that's a reflection on you and how you didn't fucking get better. You know what I mean? I mean, just because you fight Gordon and you get your ass beat, don't you think you'd go back and be like, hey, I got some shit I need to work on here?
Yeah.
If you're a smart guy and you're a real competitor, you would take the loss regardless of how bad it was, and you would come back and have a far better chance of beating Gordon. Take, for example, Yuri fought Gordon twice at Nogi Worlds. And the first match, I think he lost like 13-0 or 11-0. You know, it's a pretty good
Yeah.
thrashing at black belt. You know, in wrestling, that's the tech fall. So um, he ended up coming back and like losing by advantages on
Yeah.
the same day. Why? He made adjustments. He made like mental notes. He learned from the loss, even though he's only like a few hours removed from it. He can learn. So that shows that somebody's like a good competitor, and that shows that somebody can take like a loss from somebody like Gordon and come back better. I
Yeah.
don't see it being any different if somebody took a submission only match with them, lost. They can, do some work, figure some things out, some things that people can't really teach you that you're going to feel in there, and improve because of it.
Yeah. 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 I don't know, there's so much ego involved in it. And, you just have to be willing to stick your neck out there like you do all the time. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but I think you're respected more that way. The people see what you're actually made of. And, I mean, does anyone think anything less of Wagner because he lost that match? I mean, he's still who he is, I mean,
Exactly.
It's not like he lost 10,000 followers on Instagram and nobody wants to learn jiu-jitsu from him anymore,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I mean, Wagner made himself look very good in that match, even though he had, no real moments of offense or moments where he was going to win the fights. I thought he made a good case for himself. He hung in there. It was tough. Knocked some smack,
Yeah.
So,
It was kind of weird seeing him come as the good guy for once, Normally he's the villain.
Exactly. I really like, like Wagner and Gordon's shit talk before that last match. I liked it.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Thing with Wagner, like what Gordon's saying, like everybody's got that issue about Wagner, how he pushes people, he's like muffle choking people, whatever. And like Gordon talking about he's like kind of a slime ball, he called him, or kind of like a scumbag, you know what I mean? Like you could just tell like that was kind of like played up a little bit, but just the way he was saying it and just like the kind of shit they were talking, I thought it was hilarious, man. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only time he takes heat is when, someone gets their feelings hurt. And really, I mean, you're a fighter. That's the worst thing he's going to do to you. You've done pretty well for yourself. That's not it's not the end of the world. And hey, the more hype you get on this fight, the more money you're going to make. So
for real, man. I mean, if you're just going to get that butthurt about things that people say to you and shit that people talk, I mean, maybe you're in the wrong sport, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe
stick to teaching.
Exactly. Maybe be somewhere where your feelings can't get hurt. Seriously, like, come on. You're gonna take something that the things that they say, like when a lot of these comments, a lot of these posts come out online from, and it's not just Gordon. Gordon's in our sport, so obviously he's like prevalent when this kind of topic comes up, but there's people in all kinds of sports. I mean, a lot of shit that they're saying online is not a lot of shit that they're just going to say to your face. And that's kind of like the world that we live in and what people kind of have to learn. And that was kind of something like, I feel like I kind of have like a old soul a little bit, where like if I used to see shit talk, I'd be like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? You know what I mean? Like, why would that guy say that shit? But it's online, man. It's behind a screen. I mean, and it's not that, obviously Gordon showed that he's not a pussy, but it doesn't mean that the guy like is not really about it in real life. It just means that it's something to say to just get the people going. It's the social media is a huge platform, and they eat that thing up, man. They eat it up. They love it.
Yeah, and if you can't figure out how to use it, hire a 15-year-old to help you out. If you're not good at it, it's not that hard to do.
Especially in combat sports, like people like characters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody likes a character, and there's like all different kinds of characters that people like, even through sports. You know what I mean? Like Bill Laimbeer being like a Pistons basketball player. People love that guy, man. People people love that guy just because he was like a character. He's just like a big mean dude, you know what I mean? And he really wasn't even playing like a specific character. That was just how he is. So I think all of us that are popular in grappling have our own kind of unique character. A lot of us might do certain things differently. You know, a lot of us might play things up. And a lot of us are just like however we are, and people just like us because of our charm or whatever it is that we have.
Right.
And I guess that's why the guys that you see that are like popular in grappling are kind of popular in grappling, because people kind of like that character. People like how, you know, they are and how they talk, and they're kind of everything outside the mat, you know?
Yeah, it's a formula that pro wrestling's been using and carnivals have been using for years. You know, when I was doing Pro Highland Games, we were very aware of the fact that, you know, we weren't training for the Olympics. This was a show, and people were coming out once a year to these festivals to see you put on a show. So, you know, we were very aware that when we're sitting in a chair between throws, that there's an audience behind us within earshot. So we're talking shit to each other and making jokes, and, you know, we're playing up characters, or I don't like this guy, he doesn't like me, and none of it might have been real, but we know that the people in the crowd are digging it, because they would come back year after year after year and remember, oh, I remember when you said this last year. And, you know, that just meant more people in the seats, which meant eventually more money in our pockets. So, you know, you have to be able to play that character up. And there's more to any of these sports that people are watching on TV than just the actual skill set involved.
Absolutely.
If you want to make good money doing it.
For sure. I mean, even like in a sport kind of along the lines of what you're talking about, like World's Strongest Man, where character should have nothing to do with it, where it's literally a competition where you're counting time and reps, like whoever does things the most or the fastest or lifts the heaviest wins the event. And Brian Shaw, who's like one of the winningest ever, was told that he should be more like, you know, out there, be a little louder, be a little whatever. He was too quiet, you know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy to see like how it goes all over, even a sport like that. They want somebody who kind of electrifies a little bit, you know?
Yeah, you got to bring that money in. Speaking of strongman guys, are you still working with Burley?
Yeah. Burley and I work together quite a bit, and you know, doing the grappling method for conjugate method for grappling or grapplers. And I actually filmed a DVD on it not too long ago that I'm kind of waiting to get it all done by BJJ Fanatics, and it's going to be out here probably within the next few weeks. So
awesome. Yeah, I had no idea you were doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I kept it pretty basic. You know, I don't think it's something like we talked about before. I don't think strength training is necessarily on a broad scale the most studied, and people aren't the most knowledgeable. So kind of wanted to give a breakdown of my program and how I kind of got to that method, and then kind of show some of the basics. You know, I know we all have our opinions on technique, especially in the strength world, but, you know, I don't want to lead anybody down a bad path. So I kind of went over, you know, how to do all the exercises that people want to avoid for so many years, like good mornings, RDLs, box squats, you know, help people think that these are very dangerous exercises, and just show a way that you can commit the perform the moves correctly.
Yeah, you know, I did conjugate for years when I was throwing, and you're right. You get people who backed off those movements, and Louis had a great line. I think it was, show me an exercise that's 100% safe, and I'll show you an exercise that's 100% useless. You know, so Louis always has those one-liners. But, you know, the good mornings and like, well, the other thing is it's good that you did that, because you can't swing a cat on Instagram without hitting somebody doing a box squat wrong. I mean, they're constantly doing them wrong and filming them. It drives me nuts. But you definitely want to be able to tell these people, so you don't have people bouncing off boxes or sitting to their knees or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. And you got people, when you hear good morning, people think back to Tom Platz and Ronnie Coleman doing these good mornings where their legs are super stiff and they're like stretching all the way down. And they're like, why would you do a max effort on that? And it's like, yeah, that's, this is where we got to kind of see what the difference is between what person's doing what, and that's where I kind of want to fill in the blanks. The difference between what's a stiff leg deadlift, what's a Romanian deadlift, what's a regular deadlift, what's a, whatever. Why are they safe to do? What do we need to do to keep it safe? Simple things like that, because, I remember reading an article, what are the 5 exercises a wrestler should avoid? Stiff leg deadlift or RDL is like number 1 or number 2. It's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why? What's the reason? Because somebody performed it improperly and injured their hip labrum. You know what, man? There's a lot of things that could be performed improperly and you get injuries. It's
all that clickbaity shit. You get that, or 10 mental secrets from Navy SEALs, and it's like, Jesus Christ, just looking to put content out.
Seriously, I mean, that's what it is. And the sad part is that a lot of, grappling is becoming professional, and a lot of the aspects of it for the longest time were looked at so amateurly. Like physical preparedness was like, just do a lot of rounds or run or ride a bike, fucking go to a CrossFit gym and do 2 or 3 sessions a week. Like there's no program behind that. There's no science behind that. You don't have any goal that you're actually working towards. And you don't really have a real program if you show up to a CrossFit gym and you just do a bunch of classes, I'm really not trying to dog in CrossFit, but I'm just saying, like,
no,
people in the sport have done for years. They just show up to a gym or a workout class and they just jump in and think, how can you say that you're a professional athlete and this is what you do for your life if you're just like in there doing whatever, you know what I mean? It's the craziest thing to see. And now that the sport's becoming more professional, you see a little bit more of people showing interest in that kind of thing. Like, hey, what are those guys doing?
Even with CrossFit, the top level CrossFit guys aren't going there and taking classes. They've made it into a professional sport.
Exactly.
You see, and there's a million different ways to skin a cat, but you're right. You're seeing it now more and more. You're seeing Louis' influence on the sport. You're seeing guys like Pavel Tatsulin's influence on the sport, and they're just going in different directions. You see guys out there lifting Atlas stones and carrying sandbags and doing strongman shit. You see guys, doing the West Side Split. You're seeing guys swinging kettlebells and doing more bodyweight stuff. But you're right, there's never it's never seemed to be like a systematic approach to a goal in the future. And West Side's great about that, because you should be within your strength peak within 3 weeks, no matter where you are in your season.
Yep. That's the thing I talk about too. I talk about how that's the workout method that I went through so many, and that's the one I like. That's the one that I enjoy. And that's another thing too, that people think, if you're a professional athlete, you want to train year round. You might have off season from competition, but you don't have off season out of the gym. You don't have more than like a day or two out of the gym if everything's going well. You don't have vacation. You don't have any of that. You're training year round as a professional athlete. And that's what people find tough to swallow. If that's what it is, you have to find something that you can actually do as far as a workout program. If it's something that's just like grueling and you like fucking hate it, you either need to discipline yourself to do it, or you need to find something different. I don't love to look at my program and see some of the workouts that are programmed for me. I don't get super excited. That doesn't pump me up. But I like conjugate method. I like lifting that way. I like getting stronger. I like the results that I see with it, and I like the results
winning matches.
I like the results I've seen with it for 5 years of doing it.
Yeah,
I love it. So are there, like you said, different ways to skin a cat? Yeah, for sure there is. But everything has to be on some kind of program, some kind of system that you approach to achieve goals, whatever they are. You want to get stronger, you want to gain weight. Everybody's got different goals, and if you got different goals, you got to do different things.
What's funny is you mentioned about being a professional athlete, and I think a lot of times people don't understand. This isn't you going and you're gonna do a jiu-jitsu class 4 nights a week and then maybe do some weightlifting. I mean, my guess is your day is pretty structured around doing whatever you have to do to make sure that when you get on the mats, you're ready to roll and you're ready to make some money. I mean, they don't understand that it's a job.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. It's exactly what you just said. It's a job. And you can love your job. And that whole saying of, you know, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's kind of true, but you know, there comes times when you know, no matter what you're passionate. I love jujitsu. I love jujitsu more than any other thing I've ever done. So I don't wake up in the morning and be like, I don't want to do jujitsu or like, but when I go to jujitsu, do you think I want to do like an hour of specific rounds starting on the back or starting in an arm bar, starting in the mount, when I feel like shit? You know what I mean? When I'm like at the end of my week, do you think I want to do that? Like, no, I'd probably like to come in, drill a little bit, roll a few rounds, have fun, fool around, talk, you know, shoot the shit, train hard, but you know, whatever. Do you think I want to discipline myself to do an hour of specifics, an hour of drilling, 2 drilling sessions in a day, 2 different specific training sessions in a day, wrestling on top of it? Like, those are the kind of things that you don't want to do, but you have to do to prepare yourself. You know, and that's the thing that people don't really look at. When you're in a training camp and you get done your workout and you have to do a finisher at the end of it, and you have to like march on a belt squat for 3 minutes or something, or reverse hypers for 2 minutes. I don't know anybody wants to do that. Those things suck. They're horrible. You want to swing a kettlebell for 3 minutes straight or something like that, like these finishers that you come up with to just challenge yourself to lactic acid threshold. No, I don't know a human being that I've trained with ever that looks at those and it's like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was really wanting to do today.
I remember I went and saw Louis talk at a conference years and years ago. And Kevin Randleman was still alive at that time. And he's telling me about, he used to have Randleman do body weight cleans for 3 minutes straight. Like, who the fuck can do that? You know, I mean, Randleman was a whole different animal, but you know, Louis was CrossFit before CrossFit was cool, you know?
Yeah. And we've been doing like the guys here getting ready for no-gi pans, and I'm not getting ready for the tournament. So I have a chance to kind of be a little bit more of like in the coaching position, even though I'm still doing all their training sessions and still participating. So we've been doing a lot of finishers, you know, going around a ring on 1-arm dumbbell rows, you know, going up from heavy to light and like going up in weight, belt marches straight to heels touching, leg pressing, you know, all different things like this, all different stuff where we're doing it for time or we're doing it for like, you know, 100 reps, banded pull apart triceps. Man, it sucks. It sucks. You know what I mean? It takes however long to like recover from, but it's horrible. The other day we went like pretty heavy belt march for 1.5 minutes straight to a reverse hyper for 1.5 minutes. Terrible. Like you feel like your legs could just like come off when you're doing the reverse hyper. Nobody wants to do those things. And there's no way that if I was just a regular guy who was doing jiu-jitsu, or if I was a dude who did jiu-jitsu on the side and worked out, that I would ever put myself through that. That I would ever put myself through that much pain and exhaustion just for something to do. Like, it takes a different kind of person. I'm not David Goggins, honestly. I'm not just wake up in the morning and want to hurt myself. You know what I mean?
Well, even Goggins says that, you know, he stares at his shoes for a half hour some mornings before he runs. He just doesn't want to do it, but he knows he has to. But, you know, that I get to kind of see this from both sides. So when I was a professional athlete, you know, I was doing shit, and I would say the same thing to amateurs. Like, you know, what's your goal? Do you want to go to these competitions and drink beer with your buddies, or do you want to go up the pro class and win some money? So I was training like a absolute madman, 2 sessions a day, 3 sessions a day. Now with jiu-jitsu, I love jiu-jitsu. It's fun. I have a good time doing it. I'm there hanging out with my buddies. And, but you see some of these young cats who are just like, they're into it, man. They want to be really good at this. And I want to be good at it, but I'm not going to do what you're doing, because it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I've got a wife and a kid and a business and another, I'm just having fun learning shit, but it's fun to see the young cats coming up and, there's skin in the game. They want to be really good. And it's kind of fun to watch these 20-year-old kids. I got a kid in my gym right now, Blake, who, 17 years old, quit basketball, quit football in high school. Parents were a little freaked out about it. Starts swinging kettlebells and lifting at our place. All of a sudden, he's at the jiu-jitsu school. He's learning to roll. He's gaining stripes every couple of weeks. It seems like. But the kid found his sport. He's super addicted. He'll do anything it takes to be really good at it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you can take that just like what you said about being a professional when you talk to amateurs or other people. Like, it's true. I've had people who, if they, when you pop your knee or you pop your elbow and nothing's really wrong, it just, something got stretched or hurt, and they're like, how long did you take off when you did it? Don't take advice from me, dude. I don't, if you're a professional, you don't take time off for those things. Like, you train through or you train around, unless something's really wrong, like, debilitating. But don't take advice from me on that, dude. You do what you need to do. You have a job, you have a wife and kid, you have other priorities outside of this, so that's like kind of the difference right there when you talk to people. Like, when people tell you about what they'll do and what they'll go through, you got to kind of check people sometimes and be like, hey man, this isn't your job. You shouldn't,
why?
You shouldn't try and do that, or you shouldn't do this to yourself. You should try and be a little more intelligent about it. You shouldn't take advice from, somebody who's professional or somebody
making their living at it.
Exactly.
I can remember driving to Wisconsin. I'd blown my ankle out in a competition. I think it was in Detroit. And the next weekend, I'm going up to Wisconsin for a competition, and I've got, the old style Silverado with the bench seats, and I got my one foot up on the bench, icing it, driving with my left all the way to Wisconsin because I had to go up there to make money. That's just what I did, So, but if it was an amateur, I would have told him, hey, take these games off.
Yeah, for sure. You would have taken you would have called it, you would have scrapped your ticket right as soon as you hurt your ankle. If you're an amateur, of course. Yeah. When students get injuries or dings or this or that, go to the doctor, man. Make sure everything's okay. You don't want to have arthritis. You don't want shit to be wrong, but there's somebody in the comp class who needs to take like a round off because something's bothering them. You're gonna have to try and swing that story to somebody else, man. I was never. I don't know about you, but I was never really allowed to do shit like that. I was never really brought up to be like that way. You start your session, you finish your session, regardless of what you got to go through. You know what I mean? So very different strokes for different folks, man.
Well, and I think that comes down to, being people who maybe weren't, I talk to my son about this a lot. I was never genetically put on this planet to be a thrower. I'm 5'11". And there's nothing special about me, but just like you said, I learned to work super hard and just try to outwork everybody else. And it's a hard lesson for kids to learn these days. Did I lose you back?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Lost you for a second there. Yeah,
I heard you. You were talking about throwing, how you weren't really put on this planet to be a great thrower, how much work it took. Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of work. I'm sure you were the same way. You go out there and outwork. I think that's a grappling mindset for good grapplers. Just outwork everybody.
I think that's a wrestler's mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's a wrestler's mindset, because that's something I think was lacking in jiu-jitsu for the longest time, was because jiu-jitsu started out as the martial art that if you knew jiu-jitsu, you had a huge advantage. You know what I mean? You were like you had like pocket aces if you had jiu-jitsu. Even
you had magic.
Yeah, even a blue belt back in the day. Like, you just had such an advantage against people, and you can see that in the old UFCs, even before that in the other times. And even like when you come ahead, when you have like guys in the UFC who are not really good MMA fighters that have some grappling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see the advantage that they had. And then Mark Coleman, who learned a couple submissions in a couple different positions, but had good wrestling, he won all of his fights by submission. You know what I mean? So that Dan Severn, same thing. Guys learned a little bit of jiu-jitsu. They took like probably 2 months of training on jiu-jitsu, and they go in there and they're tapping people out. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So
that's kind of why I like ADCCs is you get those. It's definitely, I guess it was actually meant to be who's the best grappler. And it's kind of cool to go back and watch those old ones of you get Mark Kerr in there and shit. And
man.
When those guys started learning submissions, like you said, it was on.
Mm-hmm. That was like jiu-jitsu was, like you said, bro. Jiu-jitsu was like magic. Yeah. And I think you had to get away from that mindset because everybody figured it out pretty quick. And then it became something like, okay, who has the better jiu-jitsu? Who has the best jiu-jitsu? And when that starts happening, when you have a bunch of people racing to a cause, like a bunch of people racing to be the best, that's when the best and the finest work gets done. And now we're at the point where we're talking about it being a professional sport. We're at the point now where there's thousands of people trying for that have a real opportunity to. Like, if you go around the world and you look at guys who have an opportunity to be world class, like up in the upper top 5, there's hundreds of guys in each weight class, Never liked that before. Even when I started, even 10, 12 years ago, it wasn't like that, man. There were a couple dudes at 77, couple dudes at 88, not like 10, 20, 50 guys who could get hot and, blow up that year. It wasn't like that.
It's fun. It's really fun to watch. And it seems to be, and this is coming from a guy who spends most of his time in the gi, because that's just, I'm an old man. I've got grips and I like to slow people down, but it seems like the no gi is the wave of the future. When you watch you guys at the highest level competing no gi, it's so much more entertaining and so much more. There's so many more submissions. It's so much more fast paced than the gi. You get 2 high level black belts in the gi, and I mean, it can be a real snooze fest watching it. And I don't know how much longer these guys can keep, just focusing on the gi or only want to focus. I just don't see it being anywhere near as entertaining, which means it's not going to be as much money.
With the gi competitions, there really has to be some change, I think, for it to come into the limelight. But I don't think it's ever going to get as popular as no-gi, just because of thinking who you're entertaining. You're entertaining this fan base that can't connect with the gi. Wrestlers can't connect with that. MMA fans can't connect with that. But when they see no-gi, they can connect with it a little bit. Everybody's, MMA fan or MMA fighter that doesn't do jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean?
Right.
And these guys who like combat, or even these dudes who wrestled in high school, you imagine a dude like flipping through the channel, sitting on his lazy boy, drinking a Miller Lite, flipping through the TV and seeing jiu-jitsu and being like, what is this? This is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're wrestling. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, and then he comes across 2 dudes in the gi and he's kind of like, what is this, karate? What is this? Or, people got all these questions. They're super confused. They don't know what's going on. A lot of people don't know what's going on when they watch all sports. They have no idea. They don't even know the rules, but they watch them anyway. They watch bull riding. At the end, at 8 seconds, how many people look in the room and go like, why is he getting off? Why they don't even know what's going on, but they just like it. They just watch it. It's cool. Yeah. They want to see somebody get thrown in the air and trampled on. That's why they're sitting there just watching. They'll pay for it.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk. We had Kyle Cannell on the show. It's been about a year and a half. Maybe it was right before you. Kyle was a wrestler for Kent State and was just super high level. And I keep getting in his ear about starting. I know he's doing some jiu-jitsu, but I mean, here's a guy who's just a stud wrestler who's probably a blue belt in jiu-jitsu now. And it's like, man, we talked about MMA and he was like, I just don't want to get punched in the face. I'm like, man, here's a legit sport now where people are making good money doing it, man. That's you go.
The thing. Like, and John Danaher said it before, and Eddie Bravo said it, and Joe Rogan was talking about it, how jiu-jitsu is starting to become a real sport.
Yeah.
It's starting to become something that the generation after us, because I think we're the first generation of like professional jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Where there's like matches, there's the who's number one, there's different events, just like MMA or just like boxing, there's promotions, there's your record, all things like that. I think we are like the first generation of that. That makes me feel really special. That makes me feel really good, because I want the kids to feel like I felt about jiu-jitsu, to see that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not to be like, man, what am I going to do like with jiu-jitsu? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be, when you're a kid, you want to be a competitor, you want to do this, you want to do that, but you don't have that thought of money. And then when you do need money, you kind of are sitting there kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome. And I do think that this is going to help get wrestlers who kind of get burnt out from wrestling or don't go to that international level. I think it's going to give them a good option, because it keeps things fresh. A lot of guys, when they get done wrestling in college, or even when they get into college, they don't even want to wrestle anymore. Yeah. They're just done with it. I mean, they've trained so hard. You want to talk about programming of training going wrong? A lot of college wrestling back in the day was like 4 months of just like as hard as you could go, cutting weight once or twice a week. Like, these guys taking years off their life just from training camps.
Oh yeah.
I mean, 100%. 21, 22 years old, and you know, they meet their girl or whatever, they start a job, they're kind of like, yeah, you know, I don't need to do this shit anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. But jiu-jitsu is a great alternative. They still love wrestling. They just don't want to go through that. They don't want to, you know, go about it like that. But now they get an opportunity to kind of change gears a little bit, learn something new. Something that has a little more relaxed training mindset, where it's like an open space. You get to learn, you get to experiment, where they don't have that chance in wrestling. I think it's, if it continues the way it's continuing, and we continue to get the wrestling community involved, it's going to take a lot of wrestlers whose careers didn't pan out the way they once thought they would, you know, to kind of, you know, lack of a better term, to transition over to jiu-jitsu. And they're going to have a huge advantage against people who start out without a wrestling background or with a high school only wrestling background.
Yeah, it's funny just dealing with my training. You know, when the instructor says, okay, let's, you know, if someone gets you in a whizzer, you do this, and you look around and, you know, it doesn't calculate in your head that there's some people in this room who have no idea what a whizzer is, or a Granby roll, or, you know, it doesn't, you're so much ahead of everybody else just by starting. These guys are going to blow through the ranks so quickly, but it's a really good point that you make, that now you want to be a professional, legit professional wrestler. Jiu-jitsu is your option. It's, if you don't want to get punched in the face and go to the UFC, or you're not one of the 6 guys in America who make an Olympic team, you know, jiu-jitsu is the way to go. And there's so many, these guys may get on the mat and realize that they've been in the wrong sport all along, that there's so much more out there.
Yeah. And even if they don't end up taking the sport and going like all the way with it, they can at least come into a sport like no-gi grappling, and like what you see, not just professional tournaments, but a lot of like amateur tournaments, even, they have a couple $100 or $1,000 to the winner. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I would travel all over the state, all over the tri-state area, if I saw a tournament for $1,000.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I would get in my car and drive 2 or 3 weekends in a row.
And hey, if you are a badass freestyle wrestler in the United States, you may never make $1,000 wrestling.
Exactly. You wrestle for free your whole life, man. Wrestle for free your whole life. Not you could be this, you could be that, you could win all these tournaments, but you don't win a world championship, you don't make the Olympic team, you don't win an Olympic gold medal, it doesn't really matter. You can have 4. Think about how crazy it is that you could have 4 NCAA Division I titles and have $0.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's a college sport and it's D1 and everything, but like you realize if you don't take that and you don't continue your training against tougher competition and win higher level tournaments, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's like guys who win everything in jiu-jitsu because it was so amateur, we were all so focused on winning a brown belt world title.
Yeah.
Got to be a brown belt world champion. You're not going to be a good brown belt. You won't be a good black belt. And then you like win all these things at brown belt. You get your black belt, and you're like, "What the fuck?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like I lost, and now nobody cares. Like, nobody even considers me anything. They don't look at my world titles, or they're just like, "Yeah, he's a new black belt." Like, what? Like, imagine winning like 3 NCAA Division I titles and going to Wrestle International, and somebody being like, "Yeah, I don't know who you are." You know what I mean? Like. You know what I'm saying? If you went to register or something, being like, yeah, I don't really care. That's not freestyle.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was like such an eye opener for me.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So crazy, man. Back in the day, I mean, that's even I tell people, you know I'm young and I know I haven't been around the sport forever, but you guys have no idea how different it's been, you know, how different
this is
it is.
I mean, I'm old enough to have seen UFC 1 when no one knew what jiu-jitsu was. And we're talking, 1991 to 2021. And we have an entire new sport, an entire new professional sport with, thousands and thousands of people involved with it. It's amazing just to see that. What other sport has done that, in that amount of time? Boom, 30 years, you've got an entire new professional sport that people are actually watching.
It's true. And it's got a chance to have serious money, a serious fan base, serious sponsorship, serious support.
Yeah.
It has really an opportunity. Am I saying that it's ever going to have like boxing and high level MMA money? No, I'm not saying that. But you're going to get punched in the head. You know what I mean? You get to do grappling. And people talk about how grappling and wrestling are for young people only. How true is that, though?
Yeah.
Because when you don't get paid, these guys who are at the highest level, like take Jacare, for example, who probably could have won however many more world titles, he decides to go to MMA in the prime of his career because he needs to make money.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to make any money in jiu-jitsu. But if he was around today where he could make money in jiu-jitsu, how long would his career be? We would still see him grappling at 35, 36, 37, just like we see Cyborg, just like we see Shanji, just like we see all these guys who are at the highest level in their late 30s.
Yeah. And think about all the training sessions you get in between the time you retire and your late 30s. I mean,
think of how much better you could get at jiu-jitsu if you studied, if you traveled to train, if you improved your training and improved your mind, how much better you would be as an athlete. So by the time you're 35, you'd probably be like, you might not be your best physically, but you'd be the best version of yourself ever. You'd be the best jiu-jitsu practitioner you ever been.
Yeah. And with all the different protocols to help you stay healthy and recover, and that I never had. We didn't have any of this shit when I was throwing. Guys can compete later. I'm 47. I'm not competing. I'm just training. But when I was a kid, 47-year-old guys weren't doing jiu-jitsu or lifting weights or any of that shit. They were they were beat up and broken.
We got more knowledge now, and we have a reason.
Yeah.
We have a reason. I have a reason to do the things I do to make myself last. When I'm here at this age, I always say, like, I will have 10 more good years. I'll have 10 more good years. Like, I'll make sure that I do whatever I need to do and train the way I need to train to have 10 more good years where I consistently get better for 10 years. After 35, 36, you take it smaller chunks at a time because now you're getting a little older. It's the end of your career. But that's been the goal, and that's what I've verbalized to people around me and myself. It was complete ludicrous back in the day for somebody to say that they were going to be active in grappling and only grappling until they were 35 after getting their black belt at 22 years old.
Yeah.
That really did not exist. And it's only now, like I said, because the sport's professional and people can actually make a living.
Yeah.
So now
Awesome.
I think it's cool. We're gonna see how long we can go for. Like, we're gonna see careers. MMA guys too, same thing. There's more ways to take care of yourself and there's more money. So guys are fighting till they're 40 years old.
Yeah.
Guys are playing football till they're 40. How old's Tom Brady? 45?
Yeah, he's over 40, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Drew Brees is older than he is. I mean, Frank Gore is a running back in the NFL. He's 37 years old. He's played 17 seasons as a running back.
Yeah.
The only way for the play to stop is you have to get hit. And he's played for 17 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, so there's way more people out there now, and there's way more opportunity and tools you can use to stay healthy, to elongate our careers, man. I think it's cool.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's gonna make for a really exciting, next decade of grappling. What I'm not gonna keep you too much longer, but what's next? What's the next match? You got a match on the horizon, or?
So I'm in the talks about a match right now. There's no announcement, so I can't really say about.
You're going to tell me as soon as we get off the air, though, right? You're going to give me the whole spiel.
But yeah, I mean, that one hasn't been announced yet, but hopefully looking for this summer, early summer. That was kind of the target all along, to kind of get to there, and then had some things to deal with this year and made adjustments, feeling good. I think it's time to come back, show some evolution.
I love it. I love it, brother. Well, I want to thank you for doing this again, and I'm sure we'll do it again. And let's get prepared for this match and kick some ass.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on, brother.
All right, brother. I'm going to go shut this off, and I'll talk to you afterwards.
All right.
This has been the Refined Savage.